What if the wildest, most ridiculously funny road trip novel you could ever imagine wasn't just a story, but a kind of operating manual for reality itself?
That's a fascinating question.
Imagine a narrative so outlandishly funny, so deeply philosophical, and so utterly genre-bending that even the characters within it realize they're just, well,
And
characters.
then they decide to do something about it.
Exactly. Defying every rule of fiction, they decide to take over the writing.
It sounds like the plot of a fever dream, maybe. Or, honestly, perhaps a premonition of how wild reality has become, especially, here in 2025. Things are pretty strange out there.
They really are. But today, we're taking a deep dive into precisely such a creation, The Haunted Huffy, a Southern Gothic extended release program.
It's a work that absolutely defies categorization. It blends surreal adventure, profound literary history, quantum physics, even an official FBI report into an experience unlike any other.
It really is something else.
It has, in fact, been described as the funniest, most philosophical, genre-bending odyssey road trip novel you will read in the 21st century. And I think that description holds up.
And trust us, you're going to understand that description by the end of this deep dive. Our sources for this exploration are, well, truly unique.
They really are.
We've got excerpts from the narrative itself, an official FBI investigative report from something called the Office of Anomalous Chronological and Narrative Phenomena. Yes, that's apparently a real agency in this world, tasked with understanding reality glitches.
Which sounds about right for 2025, frankly.
Doesn't it just? And we also have a theoretical paper attempting to explain it all, called the Unified Narrative Field Theory.
So our mission today is to unpack this incredible, self-aware narrative. We'll explore its most bizarre adventures, its profound philosophical questions, and how even official government agencies really struggled, to classify its reality-bending events.
We're talking about a story that transcends the page, argues with its own author, and ultimately teaches us some pretty surprising lessons about agency and, well, the very fabric of existence.
Get ready for some serious aha moments,
Yeah.
Things that might just make you look at your own reality a little differently.
So let's unpack this mind-bending journey, shall we?
Let's do it.
Okay, so our Odyssey, this genre-bending, reality-warping road trip, begins not with a bang, but with a profoundly strange delivery in 1915 Arkansas.
Right. Picture this. The night is thick and starless, but suddenly there's this low, grinding throb of bass and a wailing guitar.
Okay.
It's Typo Negative's Black Number One, a sound like half-century away from being invented.
Oh, wow.
In 1950, blasting from a black Model T, looking like a motorized hearse.
What's fascinating here is that even the very opening establishes the narrative's central conceit. Temporal mischief is just baked into the fabric of this reality from page one.
Absolutely. This Model T is driven by time traveler's Bill, who we learn is actually William Faulkner.
The William Faulkner.
The one and only. And Shelby, the renowned Civil War historian Shelby Foote, along with our narrator, Proctor. They're returning through time with a very specific and deeply cursed object.
And that object, appearing as if delivered by a ghost right onto a porch where a one-year-old Proctor is sleeping, it's a rusty 1998 Huffy bicycle.
With just one pedal and a bell.
Yeah, it's described as an artifact of temporal mischief, a quiet promise of the beautiful chaos to come. This isn't just a bicycle, it's like a quantum paradox on two wheels, signaling that reality here operates under, well, different rules right from the start.
And for Proctor, the narrator, this Huffy isn't merely an eyesore. It's a rusty, unyielding monument to suburban exasperation. Its inexplicable appearance immediately triggers this sort of existential crisis within him.
He questions if I was even really here.
Exactly. Even his cat, Zadie, described as technologically literate, emotionally volatile, apparently expresses displeasure about this two-wheeled menace.
A tech-savvy cat.
Okay, so this early philosophical crisis immediately grounds the absurdity, It shows how the mundane can become the catalyst for profound inquiry.
So this catalytic object sets the stage for Act 1, the Whiskey Gospel. We jump forward a bit into the thick of it with William Faulkner, or Bill, as they call him.
Right, and he's less the literary titan we think of, and more a big old wild bear with red and green eyes and a mean streak, known for what the narrator calls epic dumb decisions.
Sounds about right for Faulkner, maybe.
Maybe. And right there with him is Shelby Foote, the Civil War historian, described as equally unhinged, apparently literally wetting his pants in the bootlegger's yard.
Good grief. This is clearly not your typical historical fiction.
Not even close. The source material paints this vivid picture of immediate debauchery. Faulkner has this insatiable desire for mother-loving rum on a Sunday in the South, which is, highly illegal during Prohibition.
Right.
It leads him to acquire 12 fists of liquor. Proctor, ever the sensible one, sticks to his preferred Wild Turkey 101.
So this scene immediately establishes the character dynamics and the high-octane, lawless tone of their adventures.
Exactly. And what unfolds next is, well, truly fascinating. Their odyssey continues to an old Foot family property.
Okay.
And Faulkner starts consuming blue ones, clearly hallucinogenic mushrooms, not portobellos, claiming they keep me regular.
Oh, I bet.
Predictably, they make him see Indians and stuff, leading him to run around with flags, acting utterly nuts.
And he has this baffling mission, right, to teach those black folks how to play the banjo.
Despite them already knowing how to play and apparently disliking the clinky contraption.
So the predictable outcome is
The banjo gets smashed over his head, as you might expect.
this sequence just consistently subverts expectations and historical reverence. It highlights the novel's irreverent humor.
It really does.
Yeah.
And later that night, high on mushrooms and whiskey, Faulkner perceives a red and green demon of flatulence, with eyes, mocking him from the back seat of the Model T.
A fart monster. Seriously.
Apparently so. He shrieks and jumps from the moving car into the dark woods. They eventually find him bloody in a creek, covered in sand and rocks, a cursed cart pulled from the depths.
Whoa.
This blend of the absurd and the almost mythological, driven by the character's altered states, becomes a hallmark of the narrative's reality bending.
And the chaos doesn't stop there. The trio gets arrested, detour to Eudora, Arkansas, and stumble into a dirty-smelling, loud catfish joint.
And Faulkner, in a fit of jealousy because Shelby was getting attention, starts throwing catfish.
Of course he does.
This rapidly escalates into a ludicrous multi-agency food fight involving county deputies, state police, the ABI.
EBI, Arkansas Bureau of Investigation.
Seems so. It's a prime example of localized narrative chaos, where a simple argument just explodes into utter pandemonium.
But Shelby pulls off a distraction.
He does. Being pretty darn smart in these moments, he announces he hit everything nearby, which was, of course, nothing.
And people believed him.
Apparently, the entire population of Eudora, including bicycles, plural. The text notes stampedes down the highway searching for phantom goods, allowing our heroes to escape.
That's amazing. It's a clever use of human folly to achieve a tactical objective, highlighting the malleability of reality within the story.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as if on cue, the very next morning, the Huffy is back on Proctor's porch.
The cursed Huffy returns.
A majestic, rust-flecked monument. His son, completely unfazed by the recent chaos, steals the bell and joins a rural mystic sect as their oracle, their Dingmaster Supreme.
The Dingmaster Supreme. Okay. This cursed object, this Huffy, just keeps returning, almost like it's a character itself, right? Tying everything together, no matter how wild things get.
That's a great way to put it. This chaotic beginning tells us a lot about the nature of a road trip when reality itself is, well, on a joyride. The early chaos, from the anachronistic music to the bizarre Huffy and the literary figures behaving badly, immediately establishes the novel's core insight. Reality itself is far more fluid and susceptible to narrative influence than we commonly perceive.
The absurd isn't just for laughs here.
No, it's the very force that cracks open our understanding of existence and signals that this story is truly unlike any other.
So with that stage set by this initial burst of chaos, the narrative then significantly broadens its scope. It pulls our protagonists into an even more expansive and, frankly, bizarre web of time travel and existential inquiry.
Yeah, we learn that Faulkner and Foote aren't just one-off drunken misadventures. They're actual time travelers, slipping in and out of decades like raccoons raiding a trash can, as the narrator puts it.
And their primary motive for coming forward to the modern era isn't historical research or anything grand. It's
Gas station chicken.
gas station chicken.
Described as God's own poultry, a golden, spicy miracle.
It's a wonderfully mundane and hilarious reason for temporal displacement, isn't it? It immediately highlights the book's unique character.
Totally. But their modern fascinations don't stop there. They develop this full-blown obsession with modern rap music. Migos, Future, Lil Baby.
Curiously, Faulkner and Foote listening to Migos.
Aren't they? They record these songs onto battered tape reels to haul back to the past. The image of Faulkner slapping 808s in a Model T through Crosset, Arkansas, windows rattling with bass.
That's an image I won't soon forget.
It's truly one of the book's most memorable and absurd visual moments.
And it's through this musical obsession that a pivotal character enters the narrative, right? Sunshine.
Exactly. We see Bill Faulkner in an Atlanta club, high on interdimensional mushrooms and sporting a new eye patch. He finds himself unable to process twerk physics, seeing the dancer as a whirlwind of pure, unadulterated motion.
And that dancer is Sunshine.
Yes, introduced as part demigoddess, part academic weapon, with a PhD and a thesis on the historical geography of controlled substances.
Okay, that's quite the combination.
Isn't it? She eventually disappears with Bill, rolling through the 1920s and the 2020s, embodying the temporal fluidity of their journey and adding this layer of, well, celestial scholarship to the existing literary chaos.
Her introduction marks a significant expansion of the crew. And the chaos only grows from there.
Oh, definitely. We then find the trio Bill, Shelby, and Sunshine transported to a very unusual Betty Ford Center in October 1982.
And this isn't your typical rehab?
Not at all. The rule for notorious hard drinkers is 1 ounce of the highest grade local weed every day for 30 days.
A weed cleanse at Betty Ford.
This setup truly exemplifies the genre-bending audacity of the narrative, taking an unexpected turn right into celebrity rehab.
This Betty Ford weed cleanse becomes this celebrity encounter wonderland. We've got Hollywood's finest and overly philosophical house cat.
Of course, the philosophical cat.
And Bill muttering about the metaphysical agony of being a celebrity stoner. Shelby naturally becomes the Scooby-Doo of escape rooms, leading breakouts with the house cat and dazed celebrities, including Clint Eastwood.
You can just picture it. And Sunshine, she's thriving. She even gets invited to give a TED Talk on time travel and trap music, a feminist reefer perspective.
That's a TED Talk I'd actually watch.
Me too. The media frenzy that follows is priceless. National Enquirer headlines like "Real-life Faulkner in rehab," "Drunk on whiskey, high on sativa, talks to Elvis's ghost."
These instances consistently blur the lines between reality and fiction, don't they? Historical figures become characters in this very public, very bizarre drama.
Exactly. And this period, as detailed in that FBI report from the Office of Anomalous Chronological and Narrative Phenomena, marks a significant uptick in observed temporal and narrative deviations. It indicates an accelerating breakdown of conventional reality.
So the end of the Betty Ford weed cleanse leads to an even more bizarre summons, a coded note.
Yeah. Field trip. Bring your best stories and come hungry. U.S. government. The crew is transported in a blacked-out government bus.
To Area 51, of course.
Where else? And Area 51 turns out to be even more surreal than anticipated. It really blurs the lines between the mundane and the extraterrestrial.
How so?
It's populated by gray and green aliens. One apparently has a mullet and is chewing red man tobacco.
You're a redneck alien, okay?
And supercomputers flashing TikTok memes. Even the NSA handlers are nervously handing out vape pens.
It sounds stressful.
Faulkner, ever the intellectual, is found explaining existential horror to a 7-foot mantis with a PhD in Appalachian studies,
As one does.
while Shelby Foote falls in love with Glurb, a lavender-skinned being who communicates through vibrations and 80s country lyrics.
Glurb. Okay, and then Buddy Portis shows up.
Yes, he's designated the official chronicler of the Intergalactic Oddballs program. He sets up shop, insists on a ritual shave for everyone, including Gary from Zeta Reticuli Tentacle,
Shaving a tentacle.
apparently. And he reads Charles Portis's Masters of Atlantis in a deadpan Arkansas drawl. The aliens absolutely love it. They start writing fan fiction and organize a live reading contest.
Alien fan fiction based on Charles Portis. This book is something else. It's bizarre, it's hilarious, and it further grounds the absurdity in a very specific Southern literary context. It highlights how universal the appeal of good storytelling can be, right? Even for aliens.
Right. The narrative then takes us even further into the cosmos. A UFO described as half spaceship, half barn, the Starship Holstein, touches down with a cosmic moo.
The Starship Holstein.
Its bovine captain leads them on a swing around Proxima Centauri. They're even pulled over by intergalactic police in a floating squad car shaped like a rubber chicken.
Naturally.
Crewed by beings resembling a Muppet and Jackson Pollock painting,
Yeah.
speaking pure psychedelic nonsense. Buddy, ever the diplomat, offers them Norwood and Funyuns.
Good call. What happens when they get back?
They land behind a bowling alley in El Dorado, Arkansas, where they're greeted by Jeff Bridges in full, the dude regalia.
No way. The dude.
The dude abides. He leads them into a cosmic bowling alley where the pins are U.S. presidents, and then God appears.
God. Like capital G God.
Apparently. Cloudbeard, tie-dye halo, the works. God reassigns them as peacekeepers of the party, my sultans of the side quest, tasked with resolving conflicts like a food fight at the Golden Corral in Branson and a karaoke dispute at a VFW in Toledo.
Sultans of the side quest, I like it.
This is where the story's larger purpose truly begins to clarify, I think. Even amidst the escalating absurdity, it's no longer just a chaotic road trip. It's a mission from the divine to fix the broken narrative of reality.
But first, they encounter a new antagonist.
Right. The Ram Power Wagon glitches out, replaced once again by the cursed Huffy. And a figure materializes. T.S. Eliot.
T.S. Eliot, the Wasteland Eliot.
The very same. The High Adjudicator, representing the Temporal Purity Commission, he explicitly disapproves of Migos and a Model A and gas station chicken as a valid historical motive. He tries to sterilize their folksy narrative charm and turn Faulkner's prose clipped and lifeless.
Oh, the horror. That's fighting words for Faulkner, surely.
Absolutely. Our crew isn't having it. Sunshine blasts, trap music. Buddy recites Masters of Atlantis. Proctor yells about the fart monster. These combined nonsensical energies hit Eliot like a physical blow.
So what does Eliot do?
He responds by summoning Virginia Woolf, Hemingway, and Emily Dickinson for an ultimate literary throwdown at a Waffle House parking lot.
A literary throwdown at a Waffle House between Eliot and Faulkner's crew.
You got it. This escalation of absurdity really pushes the boundaries of what a novel can be. It's not just a story anymore. It's a living, breathing, reality-bending experiment where literary figures are literally fighting to maintain their wild narrative integrity against attempts at, literary sterilization.
It makes you wonder how much our own reality is shaped by the characters within it, right? And how much we're willing to fight for our own narrative integrity.
It really does.
Okay, so after that epic literary throwdown at the Waffle House, a new mission arrives. Delivered how?
Via bourbon bottle condensation from a recreational deity.
Of course. And the mission is?
Branson, Golden Corral, Buffalo War, go.
Branson, Missouri. The destination itself immediately signals a new level of delightful absurdity.
Absolutely. Bill Faulkner, ever the literary critic, provides commentary on the billboards, like Yakov Smirnoff's What a Country. He even views Dolly Parton's Stampede dinner attraction as a Valkyrian apocalypse of pageantry.
And Shelby Foote.
Ever the tactician. He sketches out a battle plan to seize the chocolate wonderfall, considering it the enemy's morale center.
So they arrive at the Golden Corral, and it's
a full-blown turf war between the Sunvisor Brigade retirees and the Fanny Pack Phalanx tourists, using mashed potato mortar and dinner roll shrapnel.
Pure delightful chaos.
Utterly. Sunshine, ever the conductor, changes the music to a thunderous trap beat, causing the fighting to unconsciously sync up. And Faulkner delivers this profound, if chaotic, sermon from atop the chocolate wonderfall.
But it's Buddy Portis who figures out the real problem.
Yes, he diagnoses the true issue. The grits were instant.
Instant grits. The horror.
He then proceeds to cook proper, stone-ground grits with bacon grease and butter, which immediately ends the war. Creates peace.
So the lesson is?
Profound, really. Their job isn't to stop food fights, but to fix the bad food that caused them. They are now apostles of authenticity.
What's fascinating here is how a simple, authentic act can resolve deep-seated conflict, even in the most absurd settings. It's a core insight. True solutions often lie in addressing the underlying lack of authenticity.
Precisely. And then a text message reveals the Huffy's transformation.
Huffy again. What now?
It's now a shimmering, glorious gold leaning against Sun Studio in Memphis. With a follow-up text, the bike knows the next song, JC.
JC, as in knows.
Seems likely. The next morning, it's Buddy's Sunday drive ritual cleaning the Ram Power Wagon, placing Red Man tobacco on the dash, reading the landscape as scripture.
He seems like the anchor in all this chaos.
He really does. At Sun Studio, the Golden Huffy is touched, and a voice comes through all speakers. Elvis Presley's ghostly voice. Kinney, laced with the faint hum of a vacuum tube and the subtle hiss of cosmic radiation. Preaching, not singing. Elvis gives them a cryptic mission. Find the crossroads where the devil lost his tune.
Okay, so that sets them on a new, more profound quest, moving beyond mere absurdity towards a search for narrative truth.
Exactly. This takes them to Clarksdale, Mississippi, at the mythic crossroads of Highway 61 and 49. Here, Faulkner and Shelby experience this profound shift.
What do they realize?
Faulkner says, this reality, it's not built on anything, it's just a story told in a void. A black universe.
Wow, that's heavy.
And then, an even stranger occurrence, which speaks to the very fabric of their reality. They receive a notification about a funeral for Proctor, my Proctor from another timeline where he lived a quiet, simple, honorable life.
Another Proctor. So parallel timelines are explicitly part of this.
Seems so. This is a pivotal moment for Faulkner. He refuses whiskey, eats stargazer's moss, these deep, dark, velvety blue mushrooms, to see things that are...
More mushrooms, naturally.
He then delivers this profound, sober eulogy about defying the indifferent black universe by remembering and telling stories. The chaos and wild ride are now understood not as random events, but as a desperate, beautiful, and sacred duty to paint as much color as we could onto the canvas.
That's quite a shift. It raises a critical question, doesn't it? If our reality is just a story, what responsibility do we have to make it vibrant and meaningful, rather than succumbing to its perceived emptiness?
That's the core of it, I think. And the journey brings him through Eudora again, for Sunshine's family reunion.
Eudora, site of the catfish fight.
The very same. It's the third week of July. And Sunshine, we learn, is a master number 11, a term used in numerology for visionary or intuitive, capable of channeling deep wisdom. She's sensitive to bad frequencies or disharmonies in reality.
Okay, so what happens there?
Well, Bill, Shelby, and her male cousins go on a moonshine-fueled vision quest to find a sacred moss-covered cypress stump that shows the face of God.
As you do at a family reunion.
Right. Sunshine stays behind and performs this slow, interpretive ritual. She uses music, her Aunt Maybelle singing Wade in the Water, and dance to heal a wound in her own family's soul, the story of a lost great uncle.
So she's healing the narrative through art.
Exactly. She helps them build a new, more complex chord around it, and the lost frequency is found and retuned. It's a beautiful contrast between the chaotic, masculine approach to problem solving and Sunshine's gentle, profound healing through art and empathy. It emphasizes that healing and narrative requires listening and creation, not just confrontation.
And this leads to the big meta-narrative twist.
This is where the narrative truly becomes self-aware. Buddy Portis, our official chronicler, attempts to document these events, but his notepad literally self-writes.
What does it say?
You are on page 20, only 243 more pages to go. Total, 263.
Whoa.
This is the meta-narrative twist that changes everything. The crew realizes they are trapped inside a novel with a predetermined length.
How do they react?
Shelby sees it as a predetermined narrative length, changing the campaign, very tactical. Sunshine views it as a celestial script, a lesson to be learned from. But Faulkner.
Oh, Faulkner must have opinions.
He declares it an ultimate existential joke, calling the author a hack who uses run-on sentences like a cudgel. He realizes the structure is pedestrian. The pacing, prone to rambling exposition. This is the clumsy architecture of a mortal author. There's a puppeteer pulling these strings.
So their new mission is clear.
Crystal clear. We are a union of disgruntled characters. We must find the author. We must find this K. Brad Barfield, and demand a rewrite.
This isn't just a story anymore. It's a living, breathing, reality-bending experiment where literary figures are fighting to maintain their wild narrative integrity and free will.
This development pushes the boundaries of what a novel can be. It raises a fascinating question. What does it mean when the characters become aware of their own fictionality? How does that empower them to fight for their own narrative? It completely upends the traditional author-character relationship and opens the door to profound philosophical questions about free will, destiny, and agency within a structured reality.
So the characters have realized they're in a book and they're not happy about it. The hunt for the author, K. Brad Barfield, is on. But first, there's that lingering question about the other Proctor.
Right. Proctor asks Faulkner about the eulogy he gave for his Proctor.
And Faulkner's explanation.
It's a blend of poetic grandiosity and profound insight as usual. He explains that time isn't a linear river, but a swamp, a multiverse block universe.
A block universe, like all time exists at once.
Exactly. That's a theoretical model, where all moments past, present, future exist simultaneously, like pages in a book, rather than unfolding sequentially. Faulkner says there are 10 to the 12th dimensions, a huge number, and that the eulogized Proctor was from another timeline where he lived that quiet, simple, honorable life.
So they weren't mourning his death.
But your piece, as Faulkner puts it, suggesting a profound acceptance of different existential paths. To truly grasp this concept, Sunshine and Proctor are apparently forced to watch every season of the early 2000s TV series Dead Like Me.
Okay, that's homework, I guess. And the narrative continues its absurd connections. Shelby links the Huffy to what?
A flying toilet seat from the Mir space station.
A toilet seat?
Yeah, described as a mundane object, an agent of chaos falling from the heavens to rewrite a life. This really solidifies the Huffy's role as this cursed catalyst, able to warp destinies. The need to find the author becomes even more urgent.
So how do they find him?
Buddy Portis, with his characteristic practical insight, points out, a writer leaves a trail. Some library somewhere has his papers. Their destination becomes the Mullins Library at the University of Arkansas,
Which is described as
a temporal disaster of Nobel laureates reeking of bourbon and luminous dancers. The humor of the situation is beautifully played against the seriousness of their quest, suggesting that even academic institutions aren't immune to this narrative's chaos.
And they meet the librarian, Miss Genevieve.
Stern Miss Genevieve. She's completely unimpressed by Faulkner's charm or Shelby's historical arguments. But she's utterly charmed by Buddy Portis.
Why Buddy?
It's a nod to the real-life author Charles Portis, who is apparently famous in this universe. She leads them to a cool, dusty basement and a single, plain, leather-bound volume, Field Notes, K. Brad Barfield. It's referred to as the Gospel from the God Who Wrote Us.
This is it, the ultimate meta-narrative twist, the moment of revelation.
Exactly. The book is revealed to be a scrapbook of a chaotic life, a first draft of our reality. Their grand adventures, the fart monster from a bar napkin, the catfish fight from an argument over a hush puppy, Faulkner's journey into the abyss from a hangover, were all based on messy, mundane fact,
The myth is deflated,
then immediately reinflated by the next shocking revelation.
which is the ultimate twist for Proctor himself.
Yes, he finds an old driver's license used as a bookmark and it has his own face on it. K. Brad Barfield.
Oh, wow.
I was the narrator because I was the author, or the author was me, the line was gone. He's the puppet and the puppeteer, the observer and the creator. His reality and the stories are inextricably linked.
How does Faulkner react to that?
His reaction is classic. So, we are nothing but a first draft. A story can be edited, a plot can be hijacked. The characters can, if they are sufficiently motivated, write their own ending.
So their quest changes again.
Completely. It's no longer just to find the author, but to become the author. What's fascinating here is the sudden, empowering realization that even in a seemingly predetermined reality, there's profound agency. That unified narrative field theory we mentioned, it suggests reality is a mutable, self-editing manuscript. And crucially, consciousness, our very thoughts and beliefs, can directly influence its underlying syntax or rules.
So Proctor, grappling with this new, profound existential dread, asks Faulkner the big question. If this is so, if we're just a story, are we even real? Are we even spinning through space?
Shelby logically states that physics are merely established fact within the narrative, subject to authorial whim. Sunshine counters that the feeling of the ride is real, and the story is their only reality, a powerful statement about subjective experience.
And Buddy grounds them.
Yeah. The truck still needs gas. The story feels real enough while you're living it. This raises an important question. What's more real, the objective facts or the subjective experience of a narrative? And does it matter if the subjective feels real enough?
Faulkner, always the instigator, takes this existential question as a challenge. He declares physics the lazy, unimaginative prose of a hack writer and commands Proctor to do what?
Drive through it, referring to a Prius stuck in traffic.
Drive through a Prius.
And for a terrifying second, as their grille touches the Prius's bumper, the world flickers. The Prius goes translucent, dissolving into glowing green letters like a glitch in the Matrix. They pass right through it.
Proving their power to manipulate narrative syntax, the fundamental rules of their story world.
Exactly. This is a direct, tangible manifestation of the unified narrative field theory. This act, described as their first editorial revision, proves the characters have achieved narrative independence.
And at the exact same time,
K. Brad Barfield, in his 2012 Toyota Prius, experiences a pressure change, a sudden jarring wave of vertigo. Here's a distorted roar and Faulkner shouting about syntax. He just dismisses it as low blood sugar.
that's truly genre-bending. The author, unaware of his character's rebellion, experiences their editorial revision as a mundane physical glitch.
But he can't shake the feeling of the passing glitch and the unsettling thought. The story is getting away from me. The characters are getting louder. He fears they might actually break through.
This constant tension between the creator and the creation, and the fear of the narrative taking on a life of its own, is what makes this story so compelling.
It truly blurs the lines. It suggests that perhaps our own reality isn't as fixed as we think, and that we too are constantly rewriting our own stories, maybe unconsciously experiencing our own passing glitches when our narrative begins to veer off script. This central paradox that the characters are the authors and the authors are the character is where the novel becomes a true philosophical odyssey.
What a ride so far. So, empowered by their newfound ability to manipulate narrative syntax, the crew splits up.
Yeah. Shelby goes to the archives to understand the source code, the underlying rules, while Faulkner and Sunshine head off to make noise.
And boy, do they make noise.
Oh yeah. The Model T, now transformed into a time machine built of rust and spite, with a Kingro baby sound system.
A killer sound system in a Model T.
Apparently, it blasts Soundgarden slaves and bulldozers in Hamburg Square, Mississippi in 1856.
1856. Wow, how does that go over?
It terrifies a half-drunk jailer and hilariously irritates Laura Ingalls Wilder, who was apparently also a time traveler and just wanted a quiet evening.
Laura Ingalls Wilder. Okay, this book just keeps adding layers. It's a true sonic assault on the past, a literal disruption of historical narrative.
Meanwhile, back in their present, Michael Landon and Victor French appear.
From Highway to Heaven.
Seems like it. In a sensible beige 1980s sedan, purveyors of Jesus-grade shrooms.
More mushrooms. Jesus grade.
These aren't just any mushrooms, they clarify reality. The poolside becomes the Sea of Galilee. Proctor Barfield sees his author self typing across the water, a stark visual of his divided self. Faulkner sees the black universe as a swirling, stardusted inkwell, a source of potential creation.
What about the others?
Shelby sees the batter of Shiloh, remembering his historical roots. Buddy sees the grotto of the Delphic Oracle as a cosmic waffle house, grounding the divine in the mundane again. And Sunshine dances with Michael Landon, weaving realities together in this shared vision.
So what's the point of this divine mushroom trip?
Michael Landon tells them their new directive. You can't find him, the author, by looking for him. He's written himself out of the story. You have to make him come to you, force his hand.
Okay, so this sets the stage for a dramatic confrontation. The characters have to directly challenge their creator, not by searching, but by asserting their own narrative will.
Exactly. And they find just the place to force his hand, a looping mid-1960s suburb called the Street of Infinite Porches.
What's happening there?
Residents are stuck, ghosts in their own lives, characters in a narrative cul-de-sac repeating the same day. Hundreds of identical refrigerators, synchronized breakfast. It's eerily perfect. A manifestation of a narrative stuck in a redundant loop. An author's forgotten draft, maybe.
This is where Faulkner shines as a rebellious character, right?
Oh yeah. He shouts, "No!" breaking the compulsion that holds the suburbanites in their loop. The Model T appears, blasting Soundgarden's rusty cage. Shelby preaches 1968 history. Sunshine dances chaotically, and Michael Landon speaks gently. It's a full-on sensory assault on the author's forgotten narrative loop, designed to jolt the larger story out of its stasis.
And it works.
It works. K. Brad Barfield's voice booms from everywhere, an authorial presence enraged by their defiance. Cease unauthorized narrative input, reverting to baseline script, error, corruption detected in loop Suburbia 66, reverting, failed.
He's losing control.
And Faulkner, triumphant, yells back, "It's not a bug, Mr. Barfield, it's a feature." Now let's talk about some rewrites.
Amazing. But what happens when the author is silenced?
What's fascinating here is that the story itself tries to tear ourselves apart from the inside. It does this through clear alcohol, gin, and vodka making Faulkner and Victor French mean.
So the narrative itself fights back through internal contradictions or suppressed elements?
That's how it seems. Sunshine recognizes this, and, as if in response, a bottle of Wild Turkey 101 materializes the story's peace offering, maybe, a symbol of Southern authenticity. But Faulkner smashes it, a declaration of war against authorial complacency.
And the moment the bottle breaks...
Reality shatters. The world collapses into a screaming cascade of static and code, reconstituting in a vast subterranean rock cavern. They're now in a rusty handcar, forced to pump a new rule. Progress by sweat.
A new reality with new rules.
And the number 23 appears everywhere. Shelby Foote becomes obsessed with it, calling it the prime number of paranoia, symbolizing this new, stark, and perhaps more fundamental reality they must navigate through effort.
And the Huffy.
Of course, the Huffy reappears on the tracks, cruelly painted with 23, acting as a puzzle, a gatekeeper. They soon encounter Stephen King and his creation, Roland Deschain, in the cabin.
Stephen King and Roland.
A fascinating inter-narrative crossover. They share mushrooms and talk. But King, as the author, orders them out of his manuscript, frustrated by their narrative mud, and a huge vortex of energy ejects them back into their own chaotic tale.
Wow. So where do they land this time?
They are spat out into a Waffle House parking lot again, with the Waffle House where a nicest bus ever awaits them.
Man.
Kingly, bigly, with Parisian leather.
A kingly bus.
Michael Landon reveals their new role, reassigned to clear up some confusion. This turns out to be a generational holy war at the Waffle House between blue-haired boomers demanding coffee and blue-haired Gen Z paying with crypto. It involves flying bacon and mutual contempt.
How do they fix that?
Faulkner's nihilistic poetry confuses them into silence. Sunshine plays Bill Withers' Lean on Me, Michael Landon refills coffee, and Victor French's silent, powerful glare makes Gen Z put their phones away. Conflict resolved. It highlights the power of art, empathy, and quiet authority to bridge divides.
And they have another mission like this.
Yeah, I know. VFW Hall in Toledo. The dude's GPS directs them to a karaoke dispute between Old Guard, Vietnam-Korea vets with mournful country, and New Guard, post-9/11 vets with protest metal.
How do they handle that one?
Michael Landon sings Johnny Cash's version of Hurt to the Nine Inch Nails song while Sunshine dances. It bridges the shared emotional space where regret and rage could coexist.
Brilliant. Using art to heal deep divisions and find common ground.
But then a challenge appears on the GPS screen. Nice work. But you're fixing other people's stories. What about your own?
Ah,
Yeah.
the critical turning point.
Exactly. They take the Kingly bus deep into the desert to confront the story's source. The dude appears, saying, the big man, God is mad they're taking, sees the narrative too seriously. A shimmering, silent, formless presence, the secret source of God, appears. It's aware of Sunshine and Michael, but unaware of Faulkner and Shelby, suggesting different levels of awareness or connection to this divine source. Everyone gives a compelled, unintentional TED Talk on their core beliefs, externalizing their internal narratives. And the narratives cannot hold. The campfire collapses into a perfect, silent, all-consuming sphere of blackness, pulling them in, deconstructing them into pure information.
Into information. Is that the end?
Not quite. They reappear in an English cafe with Stephen Hawking,
Stephen Hawking.
who explains that information, according to physics, is never truly lost, he tells them. A story, once told with enough passion, is the most durable information in the universe. They are the proof. This concept, called the conservation of narrative, becomes an immutable law of the cosmos, a fundamental principle of this universe.
So their story, their experiences can't be destroyed.
Exactly. Their despair and history are an indestructible primary source for future narratives. This knowledge changes everything. Proctor, now understanding his dual identity as Barfield's avatar, focuses on mundane memories of Barfield's life. The Kingly bus drives into Barfield's quiet, unassuming life in El Dorado, Arkansas.
They finally find him.
They arrive at Barfield's unassuming house, and he looks exactly like Proctor. Took you long enough, he says. Coffee's on.
Wow. Just coffee's on. How does Faulkner react?
Faulkner, always the critic, tries to complain about Barfield's prose and the chicken conceit. But Barfield calmly explains, the point was the story you told yourself about the chicken. That's the only magic there is, suggesting that meaning comes from within.
Does Barfield admit he wrote them?
He reveals the book was just his first draft and my story. But now they've achieved narrative independence, becoming self-editing information. He says he's not in control anymore.
And then the ultimate twist.
Barfield asks, where are we going first? I think I'm driving.
The author becomes a character in their story. This is the core philosophical punch, isn't it? What happens when our narrative, our life, gains sentience and agency?
It raises compelling questions about free will, destiny, and the transformative power of storytelling. It truly blurs the lines between creator and creation. It suggests that perhaps our own reality isn't as fixed as we think, and that we too are constantly rewriting our own stories. That unified narrative field theory suggests the act of living and experiencing is an act of co-authorship.
What an incredible ride so far. But this epic journey is far from over. The final revisions begin with an archaeological surprise.
Right. Barfield, now one of the crew, is on his lawn when the Starship Holstein descends again. They need them for a temporal disturbance.
Where did they go this time?
They arrive in 12,456 AD at a dusty dig site. Archaeologists there have unearthed the Huffy.
The Huffy. From 10,000 years in the future.
But it's from 10,000 years before that dig. It's now solid stone, a perfect fossil.
A fossilized Huffy. Okay.
Yeah.
Sunshine touches it, and a ghostly, whiskey-tinted projection of their past flickers. The fart monster, the catfish fight, Faulkner's eulogy. The Huffy is revealed as a cosmic black box, a narrative fossil, a physical repository of their wild story.
Faulkner, always attuned to grand truths, realizes immortality in the petrified frame of a child's bicycle. The story, His story is preserved not in crumbling paper, but in this absurd artifact, a testament to the durability of a well-told tale.
Absolutely. And Proctor, now fully Barfield, steps forward to narrate their story to the 125th century archaeologists, using the Huffy hologram as a visual aid.
And this event actually creates an entirely new field of study for these future academics.
Paleo-absurdism, Southern Gothic archaeology, highlighting the profound cultural impact of their seemingly chaotic journey. Each crew member then steps forward to curate their own chaotic history. When the lead archaeologist asks, "Where is he, K. Brad Barfield?"
Proctor, the narrator, declares,
"He's right here, I am." The narrator and author are finally one, signing his name to the manuscript of existence.
And with that,
Proctor touches the fossilized Huffy. It sheds its stone, becoming a brand new bicycle. Its frame was a gleaming, perfect chrome. It had 2 pedals, a comfortable seat, and a small silver bell. The curse is broken. The story is healed, embodied in the renewed bicycle.
so they board the Holstein, and Proctor looks out at the cosmos, realizing, for the first time, the page is blank. We get to write it together.
But despite their newfound freedom and infinite possibilities, they're paralyzed by the blank page.
Writer's block, even for reality-bending characters.
Apparently so. Sunshine, being that master number 11, a visionary and a master teacher, associated with creation and healing, sees the stardate as 33. She guides them, explaining they must channel the story as a gift back to the universe.
So what do?
They join hands, pouring their shared experience into the void, and a single sentence glows.
Let me guess.
The cursed bicycle sat in my yard, a rusty, unyielding monument to suburban exasperation.
It's not a prison, but a choice. The story they are now writing together.
Exactly. Faulkner, with renewed fire, declares, "Let's see if we can improve upon the second draft." They gather around the Huffy, which becomes their writer's room, planning a new season.
What kind of visions do they suggest?
Faulkner wants a lost manuscript, or higher quality bourbon. Shelby wants a coordinated food fight. Sunshine wants to explore Bill's fear of being forgotten. Michael Landon suggests a kindly stranger for the fart monster incident. Typical writer's room stuff, just weirder.
But Proctor, now fully Barfield, stops them.
Yes, providing a crucial insight. The story isn't about what we should have done. It's about what we did. It was messy, and it was stupid, and it was beautiful. The second draft isn't about changing the events. It's about changing our awareness of the events.
That's powerful. True revision is about changing our perspective on our past, not erasing it.
Precisely. They reenact the Eudora catfish fight, but this time Bill throws the fish with conscious performance of his own beautiful, broken character, and Shelby executes his masterful distraction. By reliving their story with awareness and intentionality, the Huffy is now a gleaming, perfect bicycle. Its curse lifted, healed.
The journey culminates in this profound gospel codified on Proctor's porch,
Right.
offering powerful takeaways for living.
Yeah, each character offers a piece of wisdom.
Right.
Sometimes it just needs a place to sit for a spell, advising patience.
Victor.
The world's full of broken pieces. The job isn't to fix them, but to stand with them, suggesting empathy and presence.
Shelby's is about history.
History isn't just what happened. It's the story we tell ourselves about what happened. So tell a better story, highlighting subjective interpretation and agency. Sunshine. Every life has its own frequency. Build a more beautiful chord around it, advocating for harmony and self-creation.
And Faulkner.
The black universe is silent and indifferent. Fill it with the sound of your own magnificent, ridiculous, and loving voice. A call to self-expression and defiance.
And finally, Proctor, or Barfield.
The most cursed things in your life might just be the engine of your best story. Don't throw them away. Learn to ride an ultimate message of reframing challenges as opportunities.
So their new purpose is clear: to become teachers, holding workshops for the other characters and all the other stories, spreading this gospel of narrative agency.
Right. Proctor, Barfield, stays behind to be the author, to live this quiet life so you have a place to be from. The kingly bus fades away, carrying the crew. Proctor, at peace with being both Proctor and Barfield, rides the perfected Huffy, seeing his ordinary neighborhood with new eyes. The curse was broken. The story was whole. The author was home.
And Buddy Portis offers a final, summarizing gospel.
A perfect summation.
Yep.
You think you're just living through it, but really you're making it up as you go. It ain't about fixing the bike or breaking the curse. It's about how you tell it. It's about how you keep telling it.
He urges us. Every Huffy on every porch is waiting for its story. When your time comes to say a word, make it true, make it wild, make it yours. And if you don't know what to say, well, just start with "I was there," and let the rest work itself out.
This expansive final section really shows the long-term impact of a narrative that takes on a life of its own. It highlights the profound connection between our past, our stories, and the very fabric of our present and future. It makes you wonder, what's the dirt we need to remember to fix our own future? How do we curate our own narratives for healing and growth?
But the story of the Haunted Huffy, this funniest, most philosophical, genre-bending odyssey of the 21st century so far, truly does continue, doesn't it? Because even after Barfield's piece, the narrative keeps writing itself.
Yes, it does. In Part 2, titled The Gospel of the Unburied Future, K. Brad Barfield, now living that quiet, authorial life, finds himself still for 65 days. This is really unusual for a man who usually logs over 2 million miles.
And that's when his cat intervenes.
His cat, Zadie, starts texting him. Yes, texting.
The tech-savvy cat is back.
Warning him. They're gonna come for you if you keep still. Old ghosts. Old ideas. The ones you outran. He dreams of stars spelling EGPT and wakes to a sticky note on his computer. The Gospel of the Unburied Future, Chapter 1. You're in it.
The story itself is actively pulling him back in. He can't just be the author on the sidelines.
Not anymore. The next morning, a sentence is lodged in his skull. The raisin is a lie. His laptop types by itself. Characters don't wait for plot anymore. We are the plot.
Wow.
And sunshine appears, first in his goat field, then just inside his living room. A quiet narrative trespass. She explains, Raisinets are failed grapes with delusions of relevance, just like plot points that don't know they're already dead.
That's quite a take on Raisinets. And plot.
Isn't it? She declares them the Inklings now. Not your Oxford boys.
Yeah.
Us. The ones who crawled out of the margin, establishing them as the new literary vanguard, the characters who've taken control.
And the rest of the crew manifests.
Faulkner, Shelby, Buddy, Victor remembered themselves into being in his house. The kitchen clock even reverses. Barfield experiences static from the air, like reality is broadcasting on the wrong frequency.
Things are getting unstable again.
His living room rearranges itself and a wall says, "You're in the story now. Please don't panic." Zadie texts him that he's just noticing the layers of that block universe we talked about, where all moments happen at once. His Kruk display reads, "You are not out of gas. You are out of linearity."
Out of linearity.
The story whispers to him, "Then stop trying to drive and start trying to remember."
So memory becomes the key to navigating this non-linear reality.
It seems so. He tries to regain control with a mundane to-do list, but Buddy Portis explains, the gospel isn't a checklist. It's a living, dirt-fed, contradiction-loving organism, and it doesn't like being tasked. His list literally fought back, triggering a black hole above his trampoline.
A black hole from a to-do list.
Okay. The real gospel begins writing again, not from the author's hands, but from theirs. His house glitches. A drafted paragraph transforms into just, nah, the narrative. The final sentence of the day writes itself, a direct challenge. You are not writing the gospel. You are becoming it.
He's being absorbed into the story he thought he controlled.
Completely. And then George Carlin manifests.
George Carlin, the comedian.
As God in stand-up drag, appearing in his living room, which is now a theater, Carlin declares the whole thing's off track, infected by fear, convenience, amnesia. He explains that you buried the future, you paved it over, you forgot the dirt, you forgot the stories, you forgot the flood.
Wow. Carlin is God delivering some hard truths.
He hands Barfield the Crossed Gospel of 1927, instructions for a future not yet written, explaining 1927 as when it cracked, signaling a historical moment when the narrative itself splintered, maybe when things started going wrong.
This is truly mind-bending, profound insights from the most unexpected and hilarious sources. Does anyone else show up?
Yes. Owen Barfield, the philosopher and ancestor of K. Brad, appears. He recognizes them as consciousness within fiction, agency across metaphysical domains, counter-theses, very academic.
How do the characters react to him?
They, now fully self-aware, rebuke him. No one talks about you, unless they're talking about us. You're a ripple, we're the splash. We've lived the ink, you just theorized about it.
Ouch. They're claiming their own philosophical space.
Owen Barfield bows, conceding. The characters are the ancestors of the author, and he folds back into the page, their narrative agency validated.
So the narrative then forces them into this pivotal moment of reckoning with history, with that 1927 gospel.
Exactly. The Crossed Dreamliner train, intended for 2025, misfires and drops them into the flooded fields of 1927 Arkansas, the year the dirt remembered. Buddy finds the original Crossed Gospel of 1927 in a barn, which tells him, if you found this, you're not too late. but you better hurry.
This is no longer just about personal narrative. It's about a collective historical narrative that needs attention, needs healing.
Precisely. Under a railroad trestle, a voice from the book presents two paths. Read the gospel and search for the seed, representing knowledge, or walk the flood and remember the voices, representing the roots of pain.
What do they choose?
Sunshine declares, this story doesn't need a reader, it needs a witness. They choose to walk. They wade through fields, finding forgotten names like Leah etched in the mud, names left off the ledgers, but not off the dirt.
Emphasizing that history is often written by the victors, but the land remembers the forgotten. The dirt itself holds the true story.
Exactly. The gospel contains these silt scrolls like name the dirt before you name the deed, suggesting it's not a how-to, it's a remember what for. The seed ain't a thing, it's a name. The true seed of the future is remembering the past's forgotten stories, the forgotten names.
How do they navigate this?
Michael Landon finds a gourd rattle that points southeast, where the truth usually is. Barefoot tracks from 1927 ghosts the mud, acting as coordinates. They find a stone marker with one word, home. Zadie texts, you're walking into them, meaning they're walking into the forgotten histories and people. It emphasizes the deep connection between the land, forgotten history, and the future they need to build.
The narrative becomes even more visceral, more tangible.
It does. Sunshine holds a pearl white lantern, and where the light stops, the dirt itself answers with pressure, like it's remembering out loud. Victor sees flashbacks of forgotten sharecroppers. He says, the future won't start until the dirt gets heard. But he tells Faulkner, who's trying to write, ink's in the ground now. The stories they seek are embedded in the very earth.
What about the train?
The crossed dreamliner reappears, older, covered in silt. It seems to have chosen its own destination, moving sideways, through narrative possibility. A voice from between the cars says, I am the chapter you skipped, the version you buried, the meaning you left out.
The story itself is speaking, demanding attention for its lost parts.
New mud-stained pages appear in the gospel, handwritten, written sideways across margins, asking them to write a version that can fail and still matter. A powerful directive for authentic, vulnerable storytelling.
So the train rides a track remembered by the woods, and its whistle cries, calling back memories with unfinished lives, people who'd once been written out.
And then the gospel itself is gone, not lost, absorbed. Its ink has crawled into their veins, literally rewriting them from the inside out. Sunshine realizes, we were never reading the future, we were bleeding it into being.
Bleeding it into being, wow.
A child, Ida May, appears, asking, please remember me this time.
Huh.
They literally write on the world in forgotten voices, becoming conduits for those silenced histories.
Where does this lead them?
The train rolls into a station built from memory, not brick, with a sign, welcome to now. Ida May holds Sunshine's hand, embodying the past, reaching for the future. 5 hand-painted signs with KBB initials offer guidance. Fix only the part you can reach. The dirt remembers before the people do. Lineage is not nostalgia. You are not broken, you are becoming. The whistle still calls for the forgotten.
Practical wisdom for healing the narrative.
The gospel returns not as a book, but as a feeling. Pathways, remembering both directions. They understand the dirt. Were never just landscapes, they were scripture. They realized they were meant to bury the gospel so it could grow. A profound metaphor for planting narratives so they can organically flourish.
So the seed wasn't lost, it was waiting.
Exactly. But he buries the gospel beneath a persimmon sapling. Faulkner observes, language is just fruit, but the roots are what last, emphasizing the enduring power of deep truths over superficial expression.
And then the children appear.
Multiracial, multitemporal, multiversal children appear, each holding their own soft-covered book, the reason we had to come back, revealing the purpose of their entire journey, to heal the past for a more vibrant, inclusive future.
So their return from 1927 is
A conscious, active narrative will, a semicolon, signifying a deliberate pause and continuation of the story, not an end. They return to 2025, which is described as choked by noise, fear, convenience, and forgetting.
Sounds familiar, unfortunately.
Faulkner states, we don't fix time by editing it, we fix it by telling it true. A powerful call for authenticity over revisionism.
So how do they start fixing it?
Sunshine sprinkles damp earth from 1927, Willie Nelson strums Delta blues, Scott Weiland from Stone Temple Pilots, another apparent time traveler or narrative manifestation, acknowledges silence. Vicky, a character who seems to represent the present generation, takes out her earbuds. The air, it's not so loud, but he writes, we fix the future by remembering the dirt. On Trek.com, which seemed like a website, is now a living process.
Egypt Township, their home base, becomes the ear of the story, listening back to the newly remembered narratives. Zadie meows. You're ready now. The characters find their place again, choosing to be the story now.
Faulkner carves fence posts, Shelby teaches fishing, Vicky and Sunshine plant sweet potatoes, practical acts of healing and repair. Proctor Barfield sits, waiting not to write, but to be written into, signifying his new role as a participant in a living narrative. A man with the harmonica plays a semicolon, symbolizing the ongoing, open-ended nature of their story.
Shelby concludes, this ain't war, it's repair, shifting the paradigm from conflict to healing. Sunshine adds, can't save the whole thing, just the part we can reach. A practical lesson in focusing efforts.
They perform small, impactful acts of community and historical repair, planting heirloom beans, teaching compost, handing out newsletters, The Dirt Remembers You, spray chalking gospel quotes, digging up buried cornerstones. They didn't hold press conferences, they held hands, they didn't build a monument, they planted a tree. Zadie text. Fix complete? No, but fix begun. A realistic assessment of ongoing work.
History's pressure system just changed. Vicky tapes gospel pages to lampposts, naming them the soil that wasn't dead. She calls it forecast, creating a living, breathing, evolving narrative of their healing work.
Owen Barfield's final note appears. You are now fully within final participation. You have returned the story to the weather. Let it rain. This final participation is a philosophical state where the boundary between observer and observed collapses, returning the story, and thus reality, to a more fluid, natural state. Willie Nelson sings, "Still is still moving to me," underscoring that stillness isn't stagnation, but a dynamic state of being. Buddy's journal has a co-authored weather report emphasizing collective creation.
And the cellar door under Bunker Cutoff Road.
It thumps, a heartbeat in reverse. Vicky arrives on a brandless bicycle. The future wants back in. She opens the door and what rises isn't a train, but light. Threads of text, sentences unspooled, stories long buried.
The stories are coming back.
Barfield plants a mayhaw sapling. We don't close this again. We don't bury the dirt. A promise to keep the past open and acknowledged. A voice from beneath the earth says, tell it true, not to fix it, to live it, suggesting that true purpose comes from authentic embodiment, not just correction.
The cellar door is now a threshold, a memory kept open on purpose. Owen Barfield's final insight echoes. Knowing you are fiction, and yet real. Knowing you are language, and still alive.
The crew aims to go vital, to embody the principles they've learned. Scott Weiland sings, Sunshine sits with strangers, Vicky starts a garden, each enacting the lessons in their own way. Zadie's final message. You made it. You remembered. Now keep going. The future wasn't fixed like a machine, it was fixed like a fence post. Planted again. Realigned. Rooted. Buddy writes the final line. We fix the future by remembering the dirt. KBB initials are in the wood, a signature on the ongoing narrative.
And the epilogue brings us back to Faulkner.
Yes. Faulkner bemoaning the unnatural peace, hankering for rum and the wild, lawless, whiskey-soaked Sunday. He and Buddy recount the entire Odyssey, from Shelby's pant wedding to the Area 51 aliens, the black hole, meeting Barfield. They discuss Zadie's texts, the Inklings, Carlin is God, and the train to 1927, emphasizing the story's own agency and self-generating nature.
And Bill raises a toast.
A final toast. To the glorious, unending, chaotic, and profoundly beautiful chaos we are condemned, nay, privileged to inhabit, to the narrative that refuses to be tamed, and to the next revision.
This expansive final section really shows the long-term impact of a narrative that takes on a life of its own. It highlights the profound connection between our past, our stories, and the very fabric of our present and future. It truly makes you wonder, what's the dirt we need to remember to fix our own future?
A question that feels incredibly relevant right now.
What an incredible journey we've taken together. From a cursed bicycle on an Arkansas porch to the very edge of narrative creation, and back again to fix the future by remembering the dirt.
We've unpacked a story where the characters literally become the authors, where physics are just suggestions, and where remembering the past can, quite literally, rewrite the future.
This really is the funniest, most philosophical, genre-bending Odyssey road trip novel you will read in the 21st century, and it feels like it perfectly encapsulates how truly wild reality has become, doesn't it? Especially, here in 2025.
It really does resonate with the current strangeness. What's truly fascinating here, I think, is that even the most chaotic, absurd, and seemingly random events, when viewed through the lens of a living, breathing story, hold profound meaning and the potential for healing.
It leaves us with a powerful insight. Our own lives aren't just a linear progression, maybe, but a dynamic, self-editing manuscript where our awareness and actions can actively shape the next chapter.
Exactly. It suggests we have more agency than we think, even within the structures we find ourselves in.
So, you've now heard the gospel according to the Haunted Huffy. And the next time you find yourself grappling with a philosophical crisis, or maybe just dealing with a rusty old bike on your porch, ask yourself this. Is this merely a problem to be solved, or is it actually the engine of your next great story?
What hidden meanings, what unwritten chapters are waiting for you to bring them into being? How can you perhaps learn to ride whatever cursed Huffy shows up in your life?